I'm Erika Gilchrist, the Unstoppable Woman, speaker, author, and trainer. And welcome to WTF, Women Thriving Fearlessly, where we reveal the personal stories of successful people to inspire women to thrive. And today we are here with the owner of Creative Coworking, Angela Valavanis. And she's going to talk to us today about Creative Coworking and what it means to be a woman thriving with her own business.
Hi, welcome to Creative Coworking. Come on in. This is our front lounge. Members can use this space to relax, to take a phone call, to wait for a client to arrive, or to work. You can also reserve this space for a small meeting or even a small event. This is our conference room. It seats 6 to 8 people and it's fully equipped with all the technology you need. We have a conference bridge, a video projector, and a whiteboard wall. We have 5 offices. Each office has 3 desks. At the highest level of membership, you can reserve a particular desk and then you can move in. We'll give you a file cabinet and a computer monitor if you'd like one. At any other level of membership, it's first come, first serve for finding an available desk. We always keep at least 5 of our 15 desks available, so there's never a time when you come in and don't have a place to work.
So when I first started my business, I had my computer, I had a phone, and I had this really huge fax machine, and I thought I was getting it. And I was starting to build my business, but when it came time to entertain my clients, I knew I couldn't bring them to my little studio apartment. And I was like, wow, it would be really great if there was a space where I can go to entertain my clients and kind of impress them. So I was excited about this particular interview because at Creative Coworking, they meet those needs. There's a growing need for entrepreneurs and business owners to find a space where they can go and grow their business, entertain their clients. So when I walked in, I didn't know exactly what to expect. I looked around, it feels like a spa. It feels like someone's home, a place that you'll be happy to invite someone to. So I've got a lot of questions for Angela about what it takes to build a business like this, be a mom, be a family person, and to also thrive as a woman. So why don't we go ahead and talk to Angela. So Angela, especially with a company that's membership based, did you have clients already lined up and ready to go before your doors opened?
In hindsight, that would have been a good idea, but I was new to this, so no, I didn't. I just hoped that people from my industry and similar industries would have an interest in the space. And so I had some idea of who my target membership was, but I didn't have anyone lined up before I opened.
So when you opened, you finally realized that, oh, people do want this kind of space, right?
Right, yeah. So it was a little quiet at first, but then people started rolling in pretty organically where they would tell their friends. And I was right that I wasn't the only person in Evanston who needed a space like this. And so they just started coming in.
Excellent. Now, you know what? I just noticed the kitchen. There's a kitchen. She has a kitchen. And for someone like me, that's really important.
Yeah.
And there's a bathroom with a shower. For someone like me, that's really important. So it really does have all of the elements that entrepreneurs and business owners need in order to call this their home away from home, their office space. So what made you think of, hey, you know what, let's throw a kitchen and a bathroom in there?
Yeah, well, we actually have, so there's 2 full kitchens and a half kitchen because each floor has full amenities. And part of that is just before we expanded to be the full 3 flat, we had apartments upstairs. So each of these was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment.
Got it.
So it has a very homey feel because it was once a home.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. I thought about that. I'm like, man, they built a kitchen for every single floor, but it was pretty much already set up that way. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go inside the office and talk a little bit more about Creative Coworking.
Sounds great.
Okay. Angela, thank you so much for joining us here on WTF. We appreciate you taking out time in your day as a business owner. So tell us a little bit about Creative Coworking.
Sure. Well, thank you for coming. Thanks for having me. Creative Coworking is a shared office space. So people who are working from home or working from a coffee shop
who start to get tired of that environment come here to Creative Coworking. And then they have a lovely office space, or they have a nice place to meet a client instead of inviting the client to their living room table. And also we are an event space, so it's become a community space where I've got nonprofits holding meetings here. I've got just a little bit of everything going on. Well, that's Creative Coworking. And we're also a local art gallery, as you can see by
nice.
What's around us here. So that was kind of a side piece because I had so many walls when I was creating this office. I thought, what am I going to do with all these walls?
Gotta put something on them.
And why not invite local artists to display their work? So we're also an art gallery.
Oh, very nice. How long have you been here?
It's been 3.5 years.
Has it always been in Evanston?
Always been in Evanston. We were half the size when we first opened. I just recently expanded to double the square footage. We were just the first floor for the first 3.5 years, and now we are 3 floors.
Oh, excellent. And we're on the third floor.
And we are on the third floor.
Loving it. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced when you were building the business.
Sure. Well, I would have a hard time narrowing it down because I feel like almost everything, every step of the way has been a challenge because I am not a natural businesswoman in terms of I was working as a writer and editor in the publishing industry, and I would have happily done that for years and years. But with shifts in the economy, the business I was working for closed its doors. So then I was working from home as a freelancer, trying to decide whether to go back to working for somebody else or continue working independently. And when I decided I didn't want to take that job again, I needed to find the right workspace. So I created this space for me. So I knew what to do to make the space, but I didn't know what to do to have a business.
Right.
So I kind of pulled lots of things from everybody I know, including my husband, who has his own business, and he happens to be have a tech business, so he was perfect to be my tech support. So anything that plugs in was set up by my husband, and I could focus on the other things. So first challenges were just getting it up and running. And then after that, it was, okay, it's a really big office for just me. And how do I get other people to come join me? And so then it was trying to figure out that whole process. And once people start coming, then each new member has different things that they need. And so I've just tried to be really flexible and really listen. And each time I find out somebody needs something that I didn't have, I add it because I figured that one person can't be the only person who's going to need that.
Exactly.
So I think the biggest challenges are just trying to get started as a business. And then from there, I feel like now I'm kind of in the swing of it and enjoying it more and more because I have a feel for what I'm doing.
Is this open 24 hours to them, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if you're a member of the space, then you have an electronic key fob that you can use to get in. So for a member, it's 24/7 access. So they are not dependent on whether or not I'm here, which for me was essential to the business because I'm a parent. I'm, trying to work in ways other than just this space. I'm, doing lots of volunteer work. I'm just in and out of the space a lot. So I didn't want the business to rely on me being there all the time. I didn't want to be essential. And so having the key fob system works really well because then once somebody's set up as a member, it's their space and it gives them that ownership of the space too, where they can just come and go as they please. And it's like, if you're the last to leave, turn off the lights.
Okay.
So it's just like being at home.
Excellent. So what do you wish you would have known when you first started the business that you know now? It's like, if I'd have known that when I first started the business, I would have been better off.
Oh, well, there's lots of those things. I think really maybe just I don't know how much it would change things, but the clientele is different than I thought it would be. I came from the publishing industry, so I assumed wrongly that it would be writers, editors, graphic designers, and it would just be, the group of us doing our thing. And in fact, I have an incredibly diverse membership. And so there are, people doing every manner of work. And so for instance, with the expansion was very much because I only had one meeting room before. Now I have 4 because we really needed places where people could have some privacy, have a door they could close.
Sure.
The nature of co-working is that everybody's using the space together, but you do sometimes need to take a private call or sit down with a client with a door you can close. So I probably would have had more meeting rooms from the start.
Okay. So who was your biggest influence with this project?
Oh, with this project? Well, there is a space in Chicago called Writer's Workspace, and Amy Davis is the owner of that. I had been in there before and seen it and really liked it. And so when I was needing a space, that's the space that came to mind. So I've told her multiple times that I wish her space was closer to me, but then again, then I wouldn't have had a need to open this one. So.
Right, you all are separated for a reason, separated with love.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, so how do you determine who's fit for creative co-working? Like, are there any clients that you turn down? Talk to me a little bit about the selection process, if any.
Sure. Well, I try not to be too exclusionary. I have only had, in the 3.5 years that I've been open, there are maybe 3 people that come to mind that ended up not being a good fit.
And I'm assuming a band probably wouldn't be
that was
a good fit.
No, no. So definitely, it's more about just, can you work in this kind of environment? And we do have a separation of people who need a really quiet space versus the people who need to be on the phone a lot. We're trying to make sure everybody's respectful of work styles. And, we display art, but you can't make art here in terms of something like an oil painting or, nothing that's going to, be a big mess or have fumes, things like that. But pretty much people just work on their computers. They just come in and bring in their own laptops and, or they meet with a client in a meeting room.
Okay. So as a woman, did you find any challenges specific to that in building your business?
Well, definitely, because I'm a mother as well as a woman, I think the motherhood was the biggest challenge, because I'm pulled in those 2 different directions all the time, where I find myself wanting to make sure that I'm at home, taking care of things there, but then I also really this is my other baby, and I really want to be here and spend a lot of time working on the business. So the time challenge is very related to gender in that way. But I think actually it has benefited me more being a woman than having that be some sort of disadvantage, because I've found all sorts of amazing networking groups for women in business. Okay. We've got here the local chamber has a women in business luncheon every month. There's a local group called Founding Moms that I'm part of. There's a group called Crave, which is another female entrepreneur group. So I find like I've found my people, and some people call your tribe, that you can really bounce things off of. And that has been tremendously helpful to me. And I think if I didn't have those groups, it would be a lot harder to feel like I was fitting into.
Okay, you found your crew.
Yeah.
It's important to have that strong power circle. So I want to shift gears a little bit and I want to talk more about Angela, just Angela. So you mentioned that you were in the writing, editing, and publishing industry, and this is definitely a transition from that. At any point, did you say, "Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. What am I doing? Can I do it? If I can, for how long? And can I do it well? Can I do it well enough for people to look at me like I'm crazy?" Like, tell me about what was happening in Angela's world when you were going through this transition.
Sure. Well, I've told people, I think the hardest thing for me with starting this business, which makes this whole interview hilarious to me, is because I was terrified of talking to anybody in a large group. I would have, the first time I went to a networking event to try to market the business, just the fact that you have to stand up and say your name and the name of your business and, like that quick summary of your business would terrify me. I was so scared. And, but I just kept doing it, and I figured I just need to get past that and it's going to be fine. And 3.5 years later, I am comfortable talking about the business and things. So that's been a tremendous area of personal growth for me, I think, is not being afraid to sit and talk to somebody. And even if there's 50 people in the room, I'm fine, which is amazing to me to feel that in just a few years. But that was major for me. And I think kind of another overwhelming time was just trying to figure out how to do all the billing. Once I got to have a larger number of members, it had to be more sophisticated than it was for the first few members. So setting up all those systems and making it work.
Okay. So you mentioned you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a business owner, right? Mm-hmm. So all of that together. Now let's go right outside of that, just outside of that, with your friends, your social circles. During the time when you were building Creative Coworking, did any of your friendships suffer, or relationships with family other than your immediate family?
I think I certainly am less available. Mm-hmm. I can't think of any conflict that arose because of it, but definitely I don't have as much free time. And so that hurts relationships just naturally. It's more over time rather than some heated argument. But I do find I'm overextended and finding that I'm not spending as much time with friends as I'd like. That's something that's one of those goals for next year, is get back to doing that. I have what a friend of mine calls helium hand, where I end up volunteering for too many things.
Helium?
Isn't that hilarious? Okay. It's like, woo, I'll do that. And so I think that actually, even beyond having the business, I think the fact that I am too, quick to volunteer.
Yes.
I'm, on multiple committees, and all those things end up cutting into what little free time I do have. And so I need to scale that back a bit so that I can get back to connecting in personal areas.
Yeah, and seriously, authentically connecting, and not just, hey, a Facebook.
Right.
Or something like that. So how can women thrive?
Well, I think, to me, the biggest thing is that I don't think work should be a bad word. Mm-hmm. And so I think an essential thing for me was to make sure that I liked what I was doing, and that I liked the environment I was doing it in. And I think everybody needs to kind of take that step of evaluating. You can't necessarily change your whole thing that you're doing like I did. That I did it in a very drastic way. But, maybe you make a shift from, one spot to another in the job that you do have. I think we all need to remember that we spend more time working than anything else that we do. Right. And so you have to like what you're doing, because then you're going to succeed in it. I think if you don't like what you're doing, then you end up just kind of stagnating, and it just affects everything in a bad way. And
I'm glad that you said that work is not a dirty word. Profit is also not a dirty word. And there are some people, particularly women, for whatever reason, when they start to make money, depending on their cultural environment, it's like, oh my goodness, okay, people aren't supposed to have all of this money. Like, some people grew up with the mindset that money is bad. People who had money, is bad. How do they get that money? That's dirty money. So work isn't a bad word. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. But as a result of the work, you start getting profit. And that goes hand in hand. Work's not a bad word, but profit is not a bad word either. So when you started to build your business and you saw it growing, and you saw more and more people were coming at you going, hey, I like what you're doing, I want to be in your space. At any point did you feel that it was getting to be a bit too much? Maybe this isn't exactly what I envisioned, and I don't know what I'm going to do from here.
Well, that kind of topic came up very recently, where I find it interesting that as a culture, we all really look up to people who are successful. And we like this idea of the money that comes along with success too. And yet we do have also this partner of this disdain for people who have too much, it seems. Right. Or, so there is this play with that. And I am not someone who came from a lot of money. We just didn't have much of anything when I was growing up. And so it's kind of a thing to feel like maybe I am looked at as having a level of success that maybe has money associated with it. We do have the building that the business is is in. We're making a go of it, but it's a challenge every step of the way. It's a strange thing for me, though, to be a business owner, rather than just someone working for the business. It is a shift in how I have to look at myself, and I'm still getting used to that.
Yeah, and there's a constant mindset shift that happens because life doesn't go in a straight line.
Right.
So we have to ride the curves along with everyone else, and oftentimes someone very close to me once said, Erika, see, people see your glory, but they don't know your story.
Right.
So they see this beautiful place and they see all these people coming in to work on their businesses, and they'll probably look at you and go, yeah, but what do you know about struggle? Okay, what do you know about what it means in order to try and build your business? And you've lived that, but they don't know your story. At any point in your life, did you ever have to explain or feel as if you had to explain, well, this just didn't happen overnight. You know, I really had to work at this. Have you ever had that conversation?
I mean, I think it does come up with, in particular with this business, that we own the building that we're in, and that is a big deal to own the building. Well, the bank owns the building, if we're honest. You know, it's like we are borrowing the building from the bank
for a limited time,
as long as they allow us to. You know, and but that's the kind of thing. Like, you know, we're working at it, and we're very conscious of can we pay the mortgage? It's not like it's just dropped in our laps and no big deal.
Right.
You know, we do have to be very careful about every expenditure, and we really had to think about the expansion. Can we afford to go from 2,000 square feet to 4,000 square feet and furnishing those extra 2,000? And, it had to be the first year of the business. We had to be very conscious of, we're not going to make, enough money that first year, but can we look at 5-year plan, all of that. So, definitely it's not easy. I do feel blessed. I feel like we're in a position where we can do this, and not everybody can. And I don't take that for granted at all. But that doesn't mean it's easy.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so many more things associated with it. So with expansion comes more bills. The light bill is higher. The gas bill is higher. Everything is higher. Maintenance, stuff goes wrong all the time. And the people who are members, so to speak, are kind of tenants. They expect things to function. They expect things to be right. They have their clients coming. They want to make sure that it's clean and that it smells nice. And there's a lot that goes into that. And there are a lot of assumptions that are made by people who don't have to actually do this kind of work.
Sure.
And for me personally, when people see me get up on stage and they're like, oh, I talk all the time. Okay. I don't get up there and just talk. There's a lot more to it. Sure. You have to do research. You do stats and statistics. You got to learn the audience. Is it male? Is it female? Are they educated? Or what's the highest level, their income level? You have to be able to adjust to the needs of the client. And just like your clientele is very diverse. So you have to make all of these adjustments. And I have to make all of these adjustments, but people don't get it. They don't get it. You know what? That's a book. I'm going to write a book. It's called You Don't Get It.
But I would say that's when you're doing it well, is when it seems seamless like that, where because someone who comes here to work doesn't want to know that I'm really irritated that the printer's not working, or that something's going on with the roof that I need to get fixed, or nobody really wants to hear those things.
It's not that they don't care. Sometimes they don't, but
I get to absorb those things.
There you go. See, that's
and
all,
just make them go away.
That's all on you.
Yeah.
Very recently, what came to the surface, I had a group of people, women in particular, who were trying to come against me. It was like, Erika, you shouldn't call yourself the unstoppable woman. I'm just a whole bunch of things. But what I've learned in my small time on this planet is if you don't have a single person who's hating you for something, you're not really doing anything. It's when you start to build, when you start to grow and expand and it becomes noticeable, is when people start to try and tear it down. So if you have nobody anywhere talking badly about you, you're not doing much, because they feel like, well, they're doing just as poorly as I am, so they don't have anything to say. Yes. So I encourage you, to take it as a compliment. when people are going, well, you just think well, I've earned it. I really have. I think that the space that you've built here is beautiful. As I was walking through, as an entrepreneur, I can see myself in a space like this and inviting the clients who pay me, who I care deeply for, as people to bring to a space like this because it's comfortable. It feels safe. You don't worry about, parking and elements and all of that other stuff. You feel really, really comfortable. Was there a list, like a checklist, must-haves in order to start this business?
Well, really, I created a space that would be what I wanted to work in, so like I said, I was my first customer. And so, I did kind of plan things out in terms of first creating the space and making it look the way I wanted it to look and have the amenities that I felt were basic needs. And those are different for everybody, of course, but I went with what I needed for a working environment. And then beyond that, it was kind of year 2 or year 3, I would add further benefits for members and further networks that they would tap into by joining my network and things like that. So I did have a very conscious sense of layers of, the basic needs and then the bonus stuff coming after.
Okay. So to wrap up, simple question. What would you say to someone who desires to start a business like this? What advice would you have for them?
Do it.
Do it. Do it now.
Do it. It's funny because, there are, especially in the startup world, there are the total naysayers who just say how hard it is to have a business and that, not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. And those things are true. But my feeling is if you're thinking it, you probably are in the category of people that would do well with it. And so then it's just, research, figure out exactly what you're getting into, make sure that you have people on board with your idea before you make any investments that are going to put you out on that limb. I did a lot of research before opening the space and, we can all find every bit of information that we need to see if does this feel like the right thing for me. And, but I think part of it too is just thinking about maybe not just the business idea, but also who do you have to be to run that business? And is that who you want to be? Because that's maybe a step that we don't all take is thinking about it in that way.
There's a lot of different hats you have to wear, especially if you're a business owner and your friends are supporting you. So they're your friends and then they're also your clients. And then that dynamic can get really, really interesting. Angela, you are an awesome, unstoppable woman who is thriving, which is why I was so excited to come here and talk to you today. Is there anything else before we leave that you want our viewing audience to know?
Oh boy. Goodness. I don't know. I think, all of us just need to think of ourselves as unstoppable. While, maybe we aren't actually unstoppable, we could be pretty darn close. And I think it's great to have that mutual inspiration, surround yourself with people who are thriving if you don't feel like you're personally in that spot so that we can all, lift each other up.
Excellent. Angela, thank you so much for inviting us into your space. So we are at Creative Coworking here in Evanston. I'm Erika Gilchrist, and I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Women Thriving Fearlessly.
Thank you.
This interview exceeded my expectations. One of the things that stuck out the most to me is when she said that she's terrified to speak in front of people, and she had to go to networking events and position herself to run a thriving business. So if you're standing in a room full of people and all eyes are on you and you have to say who you are, what you do, a little bit about your business, but you're terrified to speak in front of people, that takes a lot of courage. And remember what we said about courage? Courage is truly defined when you're scared to death of doing something and you do it anyway. In order for you to be a woman who thrives fearlessly, it's going to require courage. If you are scared of that big dream that you have, you're on the right track. Because if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Your dreams have to be bigger than who you think you can be. That's how you know that you're on the right track. So here's Angela, scared to death, and she's doing it anyway. But because of that, she's properly positioned to grow her business. I need you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And if at any point you're scared to death and you need a little push, contact me. I'll be happy to help you. We are here to help you thrive fearlessly. I'm Erika Gilchrist, award-winning speaker, author, and trainer. And thank you for watching this episode of WTF Women Thriving Fearlessly. While you're here, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel and be sure to share this video with all your friends and all your social networks. And head on over to theunstoppablewoman.net where we can take your questions and comments. And until we speak again, thrive fearlessly.